Welcome back, everyone, to Pokemon Team Creation Series. I hesitated on that. And we got, from Daniel left, Static Shock today, Virgil Hawkins. I went with this, not the TV show, because this was the first one, this was a cooler looking image, and that's that. It is actually a really cool looking image, too. But yeah, Static Shock, Virgil Hawkins from the Dakotaverse. Static, obviously, is, without revealing who exactly is on the team, it's pretty obvious that his team would mostly be electric types. Static obviously is capable of manipulating electricity, particularly though it is stated that it's static electricity. It's just he manipulates it to the same effect as normal electricity. Although, I just do want to confirm that real quick. Virgil Hawkins. Virgil, yeah, American attorney, Virgil Hawkins, Static Shock. Let's try that. So, yeah, there we go. Virgil Hawkins, Dakotaverse. So, yeah, I remember I grew up watching Static Shock all the time. I loved Static Shock, man. I'll put a shock to your system. That was good stuff. A great time. Every morning on WB when it was on. But yeah, his ability is superconductive electromagnetism. He can produce electromagnetic fields. He's got metakinesis or mechanokinesis, fixing or operating electronic devices through electromagnetic pulse. Obviously he has electrokinesis as well, as he generates electricity from his body. Now, it's normally displayed as static electricity, but it in general seems to be overall a just type of electricity. He's also extremely powerful too. Virgil is very, very powerful. So yeah, with that said, what Mon did I want to put on the team for here? I'm going to save one thing for last, because let's get just a bunch of the electric Pokemon out of the way here. One of the first things is very important is his disc that he uses to fly around on. Because he's manipulating electricity, he can use it to fly around as he will. And one guy who's surfing around on something is Alolan Raichu. It's using its psychic powers to do so, but still the premise and the concept works the same in principle. It's a electric type Pokemon that gets to surf around on its tail. So that makes sense. Another Mon that makes sense, I wanted something, though, that could learn Static, because his name is Static Shock. It's depicted, at least in the cartoon, it's depicted as a form of static electricity. So I knew I wanted something with Static, but you know what? I said, screw it. What if Virgil, as a trainer, his starter was a Mareep? And he bonded the hardest with that Mon on his team, which means he would have a Mega Ampharos on his team. I like this because this would display him starting out as just a regular teen, and then going all the way to Ampharos, and then Mega Ampharos gives him the ability, let's call it his birth as a Bang Baby. So I like that kind of symmetry there. Then we have his ability to manipulate electronic devices to a certain degree, refix them, manipulate electricity. I went with Fan Rotom. Now, Fan Rotom is, of the possessed Rotom forms, this one I chose the most out of, because I didn't like the grass type one, the electric mower Rotom. I didn't really like that one. I didn't really like the refrigerator, and I did not want to do the washing machine or the fire one, because fire would just doesn't really make much sense, and water is a direct problem for him. His powers can short in water if he's exposed to it enough. So I didn't want to go there. So I went with the Fan Rotom because it can fly, just like Virgil can fly on his disc. And it's pretty effective for what it's worth. Next one up, I went with low-key form Toxtricity. Now, why is that? Well, Virgil we know is a fan of music. He's not a fan of, I don't know if he's a fan of rock. But obviously, Toxtricity is based more off a punk rocker than anything else. But the principle and concept is still works. That because he enjoys music, I did kind of want something that also represented that to a degree. But his electricity is often depicted, at least in the cartoon, as purple. Now, in the image I got right in front of me on the computer that you can't see, it's also depicted as whitish blue, like most electricity is. But the standard one he emits from his body is usually depicted as purple. So I tried to find a Mon that could do that. We definitely see blue electricity in Pokemon. Yellow is the usual one, white oftentimes, whitish blue, but we don't see purple. This is the closest I felt we could get to that, even though the actual electricity, because of the low key form, is more of a blue-white. This would still go towards what we see in the comics, but because it's purple, I felt we could lean towards that. Now the last two. So when you talk about Virgil, again, at least going by the cartoon, you can't not mention that his best friend Richie, who he in and of himself is a bang baby. He's just insanely intelligent as a bang baby. That's his bang baby. He's just super intelligent. So I wanted a mon that could represent Richie. But how do you represent super intelligence? Ironically, the last mon I have on this team, not the one I'm about to reveal, represents that part. But I'm like, well, let's back up. I already have something that kind of represents that, but it's not representing Richie. It's representing something else. Although it can, in combination with these two, I guess, represent Richie and something. But I'm like, okay, Richie's superhero guise is gear, or his superhero concept is gear. The concept. Alter ego is gear. And he's like, gear is his name, technology is his game, as he puts it. So what if we instead leaned towards Richie's other part, where he has all this different tech on him? Okay, is there an electric type we can use for that? And I thought about it, like, well, actually, wait a minute. We have a multi-purpose electric type in the game. It's something that it bonds with the player. That is Miraidon. Miraidon, when we first get it, it can't really do much. But as the game progresses, as you get more and more upgrades from Miraidon, it's capable of traversing land, sea, water, air, all that. Sea and water, but you know what I mean. It's capable of you keep upgrading Miraidon, including being able to use it in combat. That makes more sense to me because that's really what Richie does. He's a kind of a jack of all trades, trying to get an item for every occasion to be able to help fight anyone. And because of the bonding you do with your Miraidon/Koraidon, but with your legendary in Scarlet and Violet, it pretty much becomes a very close friend to you, just like Richie is Virgil's best friend. So Miraidon, I think, works in this category. But last but not least, what about the last mon on the team? Well, the last mon on the team is the only non-electric type on the team. However, it is capable of using electromagnetism. So when I think of Virgil, I think of Static Shock. I think of his disc. I mean, he used to use a trash can lid, but now he has his little retracto disc that he basically uses to fly around on. I'm like, okay, I want something that represents that, just for fun. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at steel types. That makes sense. It's made of metal. Is there any steel type that works? And the amount of steel types that could even come close to fitting into that is very slim and very far and few between. However, there is a mon that we can use for that. And that is Metagross. Leaning back to my Richie statement, it can represent the high intelligence Richie has, because it is a genius, supercomputer genius level Pokemon. But if you ever watch Metagross in the anime travel or move around, it tucks its legs in and pretty much looks a little bit like a disc floating around and hovers. So I could see, as a Pokemon trainer, Virgil getting on top of Metagross when he needs to and kind of hovering around. Now, obviously, Miraidon would be his more main form of travel, but still, I see a scenario like that being plausible. Add on to the fact that it does, in fact, use electromagnetism to help float around. Actually, let me look into that real quick, because steel types are a unique bunch. Steel types, even pure steel types, can learn a variety of moves, including electric moves, because they can conduct electricity. They're not weak to electricity. They can just conduct it. So let me just check Metagross real quick here. What is Metagross's move set? Is it capable of learning electric? Because if it's capable of learning electric attacks, that just makes this connection even better. Because it's a steel psychic type, which is a great typing, but it is it's a typing that does limit. So as a shield and sword, the attacks, because it has not been introduced into Gen 9, it's most likely, I believe it's going to be introduced in, Indigo Disc. So let's see. Oh, it can learn Magnet Rise. The user levitates using electricity-generated magnetism for 5 turns. So it gains a levitate ability. That's the only natural. However, it can learn Thunder Punch. And it can learn Thunder Punch. Oh, and it can use Max Lightning for a G-Max move. Wonderful. But in fact, it can learn electric attacks. 2 of them, but that counts. So you would think it could learn more. But so yeah, ultimately that would be my lineup for Virgil Hawkins Static Shock's team. Now, right out the gate, Electric only has one actual weakness, and that is ground. And unfortunately, Metagross also has a big weakness to ground, being part steel. Except for the 2 dragons, and except for Rotom who can fly, this team's gonna get, well, let me rephrase that. The dragons are still gonna get hit hard by ground types. Ground's neutral to dragon, they don't resist ground, so they're still gonna get hurt pretty bad. This team's gonna get wrecked by ground types. Beyond that, though, the 2 dragon types also will have an issue with dragon because, electric doesn't resist dragon, and we'll have issues with fairy. Rock types are going to be a problem too. I don't believe electric is weak to rock, but the flying type is going to have a problem with rock. Beyond that, though, there's no real clear weakness. Yeah, Metagross and Raichu have some problems with dark types, but most dark types aren't going to be like dark. So Crocodile would wreck those 2. But it's not like a full-on weakness of the team. So yeah, ground is going to be your biggest problem with this team. That's going to be your biggest problem right out the gate. But because every one of them is a dual type, that does help mitigate some of the issues with the team as well. So this is, in my opinion, the team I would choose for Virgil Hawkins, aka Static Shock. What would you do? Do you like this team, or would you change it up, and how would you change it up? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you for the next one. Later.